Good afternoon. We are calling Local State Government Committee to order. It is April 19th, 2024, 2:40 p.m. We have a quorum. And first up is Senate File 4835 with Senator Seeberger. Whenever you're ready, you may step up to the table. Senator Seeberger, we understand you have an amendment if you'd like to have that moved right away.
I do, Madam Chair. It's the A5.
Senator Swadzinski moves the A5. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Amendments passed. All right, as amended, begin. Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am glad to be back before the State and Local Government Committee here on Senate File 4835. This bill represents years' worth of work, including 2 OLA audits to make things better in the state of Minnesota for our emergency medical services and folks who rely on ambulances for pre-hospital care. The amendment here that was just adopted brings the language in line with the work done in the other body. My counterpart in the other body and I have been working on parallel paths to get this bill in the shape that it needs to be in to get the work done that we've been working so hard to do. So that's what the A5 does. I am extremely proud of this work. I'm excited to see this move and am here for any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you, Senator Seeberger. One moment. Senator Cran, question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Senator Seeberger, for bringing this forward. I've been a part of the Legislative Audit Commission and going through the work and the challenges that we've had with this 19-member board that doesn't appear to be able to function. And so I do appreciate it because I do think it's time for change. Now, bringing all of the members that we have into the board and task force or the way it's structured, this is one of the functional tasks where we actually have a governing process that we need to correct for rural EMS. And it's been clear the need has been there for a while. In the conversations of the work that you've done, is there any targeted kind of immediate actions, plans of actions? If there are, could you kind of highlight what you see, from the changes necessary to be able, that will provide some immediate benefit or at least to get it up on its feet? So if you could help with that.
Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Coran, you're absolutely correct. And working on the Audit Commission, you know what the findings were in the audit, and that change was desperately needed at the governance level. So what this bill does is it tackles that. It reorganizes the governance piece, creating an Office of Emergency Medical Services with a director, with accountability, transparency, and the ability to really get the work done that the audits found was not getting done. With respect to services in Greater Minnesota, this bill also establishes a pilot program that provides a sprint medic to 2 areas in Greater Minnesota, the Range area and the Otter Tail County area. And those areas we know need a lot of assistance and a leg up to keep their emergency medical services running smoothly. The sprint medic model will deploy a full-time medic, paramedic, and ALS provider out to a call to begin providing immediate ALS care while the volunteer BLS ambulance gets staffed and on the road. Once the ALS provider is at the scene, they can start providing that high-quality care while waiting for BLS support. If the ALS provider gets on scene and determines it's not an ambulance call, they can cancel the ambulance, thereby freeing that resource up for additional calls that might be coming through the line. So what this does is it's a two-year program we've established to gather data and see, is this something that's going to be helpful for our partners in Greater Minnesota and provide the support that they need? And I am optimistic that it will. It'll also provide us an opportunity to kind of fine-tune that model as needed as we gather data over this 2-year pilot program so that we can implement resources and assistance to other agencies that might need it. That's what's contained within this bill. You might have also heard about an emergency aid bill that's carried by Senator Huschild. That's not a part of this bill, but it's something that we're moving and working on together this session to try to provide immediate assistance and help to the EMS agencies that are struggling the most.
Madam Chair.
Senator Crane.
Thank you, Senator Seeberger, and that was my second question, so thank you. The funding piece looks like a couple $1 million in here to raise and create this new process, removing the old board and creating an agency, actually, somebody with actual accountability, and I like that. Now, all the members, we've had so many people, but this is a functional task. So many of other commissions and task forces provide guidance, so I'm supportive of something that's truly structured and one of our most critical needs that we have. And then, but we had challenges. We know this is the administrative part, which is great, and then the next comes the funding piece of it. And so we had plenty of money last year, which didn't get put into it, and I think you're aware of that. We need to make sure that we get farther than half, or at least up to half of what they're seeking, to be able to put that into place and then be prepared to, while hopefully even with the work or this new agency, be better prepared for what the actual financial needs are next year. But we need a significant influx of revenue. So I appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. Members, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I move that Senator Cran, would you like to move it? Rules.
Oh.
Senator Cran moves that SF 4835 as amended is recommended to pass and be referred to the Rules and Administration Committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. SF 4835 as amended is recommended to pass and refer to Rules and Administration Committee. Thank you, Senator Seeberger. Senator Seeberger is back again. Senate File 4643. Begin when ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am pleased to be here. Switching gears now, we're talking pensions, presenting the Pensions Omnibus Bill. And with me is Susan Lincheski, who really has been helpful in the whole pension process. As you might imagine, pensions are complicated, but necessary things. And Ms. Lincheski knows more than probably anybody on this topic, and she can walk you through the bill.
Senator Seeberger, would you like to move the A24 amendment?
Oh, yes, please. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator McQuaid moves the A24 amendment. All those in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry, A240301 amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. To the testifiers, please state your name for the record and begin when you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Senator Seeberger. My name is Susan Lincheski, and I'm the Executive Director of the Legislative Commission on Pensions and Retirement. I will do a walk through the bill. If you'd like me at any time to speed up, I'm happy to do that, but I'll go with my speaking notes for now and give me a hint if you think it's just taking too long. So Article 1 makes changes impacting the Teachers Retirement Association and St. Paul Teachers Retirement Fund Association, which are funded with appropriations set forth in Article 13 at the end of the bill. Section 1 moves up the effective date of the change in the normal retirement age from 66 to 65 for Tier 2 teachers by 1 year. So it will take effect on July 1, 2024, rather than July 1, 2025, which is in the law right now. Section 2 reduces the employee contributions by 0.25% of pay for 2 years for members of the St. Paul Teachers Plan. This results in a 7.5% employee contribution rate beginning July 1, 2024, and 8.75% employee contribution rate beginning July 1, 2025. Sections 3 to 6 are legislation recommended by the IRAP to TRA work group and provides new procedures for members of the IRAP to elect to transfer from the Minnesota State Individual Retirement Account Plan, or IRAP, to TRA. This comes up when people were not given the opportunity to make that transfer back when they were first hired or granted tenure. A newly established IREP to TRA transfer account is funded with an appropriation of $1,458,000 in Section 13. These funds reduce the cost to members when they transfer and need to purchase past service credit from TRA. Sections 7 and 8 are session laws that permit teachers who return to employment after retirement to continue receiving their pensions without any reduction due to an earnings limitation that's in the law right now. This was originally acted in 2022 for teachers in TRA and St. Paul teachers, would have expired in 2025 without this extension, and it will now be available until 2028. Article 2 is legislation recommended by the State Auditor's Fire Relief Association Working Group, amends Chapter 424A, which governs volunteer firefighter relief associations. Most of the changes are technical and incorporate new definitions for firefighter and volunteer firefighter. Most of Article 3 are sections that add a defined contribution plan to the para statewide volunteer firefighter plan. This was required by 2023 legislation that's established the SVF Plan Incentive Program. Article 3 makes 2 additional changes. One is adds a new section for vesting service credit and shifts the burden of proving past service from the fire chief to the firefighter. So if a firefighter joins the plan, wants credit for past service with another fire department, the firefighter must make the request rather than have the fire chief do that. Article 4 makes changes to the statutes that govern the para plans. That is in 4 categories. First, sections 1 to 4, 12, and 13 amend statutes in Chapter 353G, which governs the para defined contribution plan. This shortens the period for electing out of the plan or into the plan to 30 days. These changes are required by federal law. Section 17 is a related session law that allows city managers to elect out of para general and local government officials and ambulance personnel to elect into the defined contribution plan during a window in October. Second, sections 5 to 7, 16 amend statutes to eliminate the offset for workers' compensation from disability benefits for the para general and correctional plans. This offset was eliminated in 2023 for the para police and fire plans, so this just makes these other 2 plans consistent on that. Third, sections 8 to 11 amend the eligibility provisions for firefighters in the para police and fire plan. These provisions are being revised to include supervisors and other employees engaged in or exposed to firefighting hazards who are not currently eligible for the police and fire plan. Fourth, sections 14 and 15 increase the multiplier in the formula for retirement annuities for members of the para local government correctional plan from 1.9% to 2.2%. This will match the MSRS correctional plan. This is only for future service. To fund this benefit increase, the employer contribution is increased by 1.5% of pay, and the employee contribution rate is increased by 1% of pay. These changes will take effect July 1, 2025. Article 5 makes changes to the statutes that govern the MSRS plans in 4 categories. First, sections 1 to 8 and 10 are purely administrative or technical changes. The second category of changes impacts the MSRS correctional plan. This amends the eligibility requirements to add 5 new kitchen positions and music therapists to the list of covered positions, and Section 13 allows these employees to purchase service credit for past service in the MSRS general plan. Section 14 establishes a work group consisting of representatives from the Department of Corrections, Department of Human Services, ASFE, MAPE, MMA, and MNA, and the Executive Director of MSRS. This work group is required to meet during the interim to develop legislation that will address issues relating to eligibility, including how to add new positions without always turning to the legislature for legislation. The group must meet by August 1 and deliver proposed legislation to the Commission by January 10, 2025. Third, Section 11 impacts the state patrol plan by adding a new section that codifies most of an existing program that permits troopers to retire, begin receiving their retirement annuity, return to employment, and continue receiving their annuity. Employer and employee contributions need to continue while they're reemployed, but when the member retires for the second time, the member receives a refund of the employee contributions. Fourth, Section 12 reinstates the authority of employees who were initially excluded from participation in the MSR's general plan because they were employed on an H-1B or similar visa to purchase service credit for past service during the period they were excluded. These employees had been given this purchase right when the law was changed in 2021 to permit immediate participation in the plan. Article 6 consists of 6 sections that amend the new statutes for the Minnesota Secure Choice Retirement Program. The first 2 sections require the Board of Directors to allow home and community-based services employees to participate within 6 months of opening the program. The next 4 sections amend the board requirements to permit the hiring of an interim executive director, among other changes. Article 7 amends Section 356.24, which prohibits public employers from contributing public funds to supplemental retirement plans. Supplemental plans are plans other than the primary pension plans in which public employees are required to participate. Section 2 revises the definition of deferred compensation plan, which is one of these supplemental plans, to permit employers to make matching contributions on qualified student loan repayments as authorized by the Federal Secure 2.0 Act. Other changes made to this definition simplify requirements regarding disclosure to participants of fees and investment rates of return and filing that disclosure with the Commission. Article 8 amends the statutes that apply to all public pension plans in 2 areas. First, Section 1 amends the statute that governs the determination of each plan's established date for full funding, which is the end of the period over which unfunded actuarial liabilities may be amortized, by resolving a conflict in this statute. Later in this article, in Section 13, a session law establishes our second work group, which is the amortization work group, consisting of the executive directors and staff from each of the public pension plans and St. Paul teachers to propose legislation that will update the statutes to conform to best practices for amortizing liabilities. Second, Sections 2 to 11 and 14 to 16 update and restructure statutes that set forth and require compliance with applicable provisions of the U.S. Internal Revenue Code. One provision in particular expands the authority of the executive directors of the pension systems to correct operational errors as permitted by the IRS's self-correction program. Article 9 amends the expiration date for state aids that are paid annually to pension plans, such as the teacher plans and the parapolice and fire plan. These state aids expire on the earlier of July 1, 2048, or after the plan reaches full funding for 1 year. Sections 1 to 7 change the 1-year full funding requirement to a requirement that the plan be fully funded for 3 consecutive years. Article 9 also closes a loophole in the statute that governs the payment of fire state aid. To be entitled to fire state aid under current law, a fire department is required to be affiliated with a relief association or with the para-statewide volunteer firefighter plan, or the fire department can satisfy the requirement if the municipality solely employs full-time firefighters. This solely language was of concern because some of these fire departments also employ part-time firefighters. The change in Section 8 revises this subdivision to permit part-time firefighters. Article 10 makes technical changes to the requirement for setting the salary of the executive director for para and TRA. This same change is made in Article 5 in the MSRS section and the qualifications for the executive director of para. Article 11 makes cleanup changes to Chapter 354A, which governs St. Paul teachers. Most of these changes remove references to other cities and other school districts from years ago when St. Paul was not the only local pension plan. Article 12 makes technical changes, and Article 13 finally is the appropriations. We have $1.458 million is being allocated to the IREP to TRA transfer account. I mentioned that earlier. $28,462,200 is being allocated to TRA or appropriated to TRA. And then finally, $1,537,800 to St. Paul teachers. The funding between TRA and St. Paul teachers of $30 million was allocated on the basis of their actuarial accrued liabilities. That's my overview. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know we have another testifier. Ms. Snyder from Education Minnesota, if you'd like to come to the table. And if Valerie Doslin from the Minnesota Association of School Administrators would like to come up to the table as well, you can be ready to go after Ms. Snyder is done. When you're ready, please introduce your name for the record and begin. Thank you.
Hello, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Caitlin Snyder. I work for Education Minnesota, a union of 84,000 teachers, about 78,000 of whom are members of TRA. I just really want to thank the chair for her commitment to pensions, Senator Seeberger for hers as well, and Chair Frentz's. The bill before you today is really fantastic. And I'll just acknowledge the elephant in the room that the funding that is being invested here to St. Paul TRA and to TRA is an Education Minnesota priority. And we know that this is a significant amount of funding during a very tight budget year. I have so many progressive and union colleagues that would have liked to see that on their priorities as well. And I just want to appreciate the legislature and the governor for taking this priority from our members seriously. A couple of items that I'll highlight a little bit further that Ms. Lincheski already talked about. First, the move to the normal age of retirement for TRA is so impactful. For a lot of our members, this is their first foray into politics, so seeing that the investment the committee, the legislature made last year is moving up and is something that they can actually feel and anticipate as they're making retirement decisions, that is fantastic indications to them. It makes them feel like they're being heard. It makes them feel like there's real movement here. We think that the choices that St. Paul TRA made related to sort of softening the employee contributions coming up was really fantastic. We're excited about the amortization working group. It's a weird thing to be excited about, but I think it's a very big conversation. There's one piece in here that I wanted to highlight for the committee's consideration as this moves forward. Language at 102.9 and 102.10 of the DE. This relates to changing the amortization date of TRA by 5 years. So pensions are complicated. It's a Friday afternoon. I'm sure you want to hear me talk all day. This essentially shortens the mortgage by 5 years without increasing the payments into the pension fund. So it moves a slight sufficiency in the fund to a slight deficiency in the fund. We think this is premature. We'd like to have more conversations about it, especially with the amortization working group coming up. We think that that could be part of their work as they're looking forward. But overall, very excited about this bill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Ms. Dosland.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Valerie Doslin, and I represent the Minnesota Association of School Administrators, which is the association of school superintendents and other administrators around the state. Improving teacher pension benefits and addressing the inequity in the benefits between the Tier 1 and Tier 2 teachers is a priority for MASA. We appreciate the work of Senator Seeberger and others on the Pension Commission to look at this issue this session. I'm here to express our support for the provisions in the TRA bill, specifically the items that Ms. Snyder mentioned. In understanding the budget limitations, we understand that more couldn't have been done this year, and we look forward to ongoing conversations. I do also want to just raise the point that Ms. Schneider mentioned that, we understand the discussion in the Pension Commission about the date change for amortization, but we do have questions and concerns about that because I'm sorry, it's Friday and I'm tired. We just would like to have a further conversation about what measures will need to be taken to assure full funding is reached by 2048 and what that means in regarding our ability to move forward on other pension benefits for our educators. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions or comments? Senator Coran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Seeberger, on the on the para portion of it, I see we're making a variety of changes, but this is another unfunded, looks like $3.5 million unfunded mandate pushed down to our local municipalities.
Senator Seeberger.
Is that correct assumption?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Coran, I'm going to ask Ms. Lincheski to speak to that.
Welcome Ms. Liszewski back to the table. To the testifier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator, that is correct. That is not being funded. It is an increase in the liability of the counties and cities.
Senator Cran.
Thank you, Ms. Liszewski. So what type of communication is taken with the organizations that are now going to have to make up for those contributions for decisions that you've proposed? What type of dialogue has occurred for you to come to the position we're in?
Ms. Liszewski.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair and Senator. It isn't my position, of course. I'm just nonpartisan staff. I drafted it, but it isn't my position. I understand that members of the commission have been in touch with Micah and with the League and with the County Association. I understand that they have not submitted any testimony here. I am only concluding from that they are able to appreciate the change for the correctional officers and are going to find the funding.
Senator
Thank you,
Cran.
Ms. Liszewski. Thank you. Madam Chair? Also,
Yeah, Senator Cran.
so for the next section on Article 5, the MSRS, the expansion of the Health and Human Services, much more generous in offering the plan to a variety of other positions. It looks like that'll significantly increase the operational costs based on their participation. And so I can't make it clear, what's that additional forecasted cost for adding those positions?
To the testifier.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator. I think you're asking about the new positions that are going to be added to the MSRS correctional plan?
That is correct.
That is a prospective add, so they will move over from MSRS General to the MSRS Correctional Plan. Their employee contributions will go up, as will the employer contributions, but it's prospective, so there isn't any sort of past service costs there. The Department of Corrections and the Department of Human Services are aware of this. Again, they did not come and testify in opposition. So I assume that they believe that this is an appropriate change in the positions that are now going to be covered by the correctional plan.
So, Madam
Senator
Chair,
Cran.
Senator Seeberger and Ms. Liszewski, so in here we have an eligibility interim working group. But at least the way it reads, it looks like the cart's before the horse. Is that correct? That it looks like it already expands those positions, adding, and then we have an interim eligibility working group. And what's that interim group going to do, since we already prescribed to that we already have 75% of the employee's time is spent in direct contact with patients in order to qualify. So clarify the stated changes and then the usefulness of the interim work group that would occur after this session.
Senator Seeberger and/or Ms. Liszewski.
Madam Chair, Senator, so pretty much every session, legislators are asked to introduce legislation to add new positions to the correctional plan. As a rule, they also acknowledge or have evidence to suggest that the people that they're going to add do have this requisite 75% direct contact with inmates or patients. We believe that it probably is sort of a failing of following the procedures for adding these positions on the part of DOC and DHS. There are procedures in the statute that that they need to go through in order to add these positions, but the procedures are not being followed year after year. And so we then have legislation introduced that adds these positions. They probably should be added because they have requisite contact, but so this is the only way to do it, apparently, in light of what's happening at DOC and DHS. So the working group is going to look at the procedures, figure out if there's a better way to do this, streamline the process so that when positions have this requisite contact, they can be added without legislation.
Thank you, Ms. Liszewski. And you can understand our challenges, right? We want to make sure that these processes work, but we have to make sure our workforce is prepared or taken care of, but also we have a taxpayer that is funding all of this, and we want to make sure it's working for everyone, including the taxpayer as well as the workforce. Madam Chair, I have one follow-up.
Senator Cran.
So on, I think it's Article 9, it looks like changing the look-back period. These are types of things that I think concern everybody. So when we look at it, this potentially looks like it's subsidizing MINSCU, right, for errors it made and, say, failing to report to the IRAP members of their option to transfer to TRA. The 3-year state pension aid look-back provision, to me, I think changes it and will only encourage increasing liabilities so we never meet the fully funded and will continually draw significant subsidies ongoing. And it looks like it could continue to game the system. Those are very difficult to measure, but certainly with these types of changes, looks like it could encourage that behavior. And so we never meet that fully funded. Almost like school funding, plan deficits every year, spend more money than you plan. And so it looks like it can be gamed, and I think we should be really concerned about those types of changes. So how do we make sure that that doesn't happen?
Ms. Linczewski. Senator Seeberger.
I'll take this one. Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Cran. The needs of those who receive pensions, well, let me back up. There is no gamesmanship going on here. What we're looking at is a promise to pay an amount in the future, and it relies on so many various factors such as the market and funding and who actually draws pension versus what was projected to have people take pension funding, employment status of those who are participating in the pension plan. So there's so many factors at play that when you're talking about a defined benefit, you have to make certain assumptions and certain projections in order to have discussions about the plan and the funding status of the plan. So we had a lot of hearings this session and last session having to do with funding. And if we look at actually the last couple of years, pensions had minimal or no targets and no ability to really invest in the futures of these folks that we made these promises to. And last session, we had an historic funding target of $600 million, $600 million to pensions. We've never seen that before. And that was due in part to the inaction of this legislature over the last number of years. This year, we have a budget target as well. In the face of discussions that there's limited money, no money around here to do the important work that we need to do, pensions got another little bit of money. And the teachers were able to receive the benefit of that. So what we're seeing here and what the work that we've been doing over the past couple sessions is making up for chronic underfunding of the promise that we made to those who will draw on pensions. So there is no planned deficit, there is no gamesmanship here. It's the reality of the situation, and we're trying to make right by the folks that we made this promise to.
Madam Chair, thanks,
Senator Cran.
Seeberger. But and this particular change certainly does open for that continued ability to increase liabilities, and then putting that look-back period out for the 3 years instead of the one as it is today, I think could be gamed. And but I think, in fact, there were hundreds of millions of dollars invested over the last 6 years prior to the Democrats taking control to put those funds right on the targeted plan so they would meet and to be fully funded, because we agree we were way off, and everybody made contributions to it. Everybody made adjustments, those contributing, the employer portion of it, and the members receiving it. And so those significant changes were made, not just in the deficit of the funding, but everybody understanding that they had to increase their role. So that work was actually done. So with that, Madam Chair, I have no further questions, but I do request a roll call on the final bill.
Roll call requested, roll call approved. One moment. I'm sorry, I would like to ask any more questions or comments before we go to roll call. Seeing none, we will go to roll call.
Chair Gustafson,
Aye.
Chair Dietzick.
Aye.
Vice Chair Mitchell.
Aye.
Senator Anderson.
No.
Senator Barr. Senator Carlson. Senator Swadzinski.
Yep.
Senator Drazkowski.
No.
Senator Fateh. Senator Jazinski. Senator Karan.
Madam Chair, there was no motion made. Would we like to start over?
Thank you, Senator Cran. We're just testing you. Good job. You passed.
I'd like to thank our staff.
Always like to thank the staff. Senator May Quaid moves that SF 4643 as amended is recommended to pass and be referred to the Finance Committee. Now we will take roll call. Thank you.
Chair Gustafson.
Yes.
Chair Dietzick.
Yes.
Vice Chair Mitchell.
Aye.
Senator Anderson.
No.
Senator Barr. Senator Carlson. Senator Swadzinski.
Yep.
Senator Drazkowski.
No.
Senator Fateh. Senator Jazinski. Senator Karan.
No.
Senator Lang. Senator May Quaid.
Aye.
Senator Morrison.
Aye.
There being 6 yes votes and 3 no votes, the motion is approved. SF 4643 is amended, is recommended to pass and refer to the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee.
And with that, we have reached the end of our agenda, and we adjourn. Thank you.